So, guys, here we are, MMA UK News. Obviously, myself, Stoomboy, as always, MMA UK BJJ show. So, talking about Evolution of Combat 11. Evolution of Combat 11. It's going to be at the usual place, the Maryhill Community Halls in Glasgow. It's going to be on Saturday, the 19th of February. So, only, just under 2 weeks now. So, it's going to be a great event. Already lining up. I believe they put the full lineup out now. There's going to be the usual. Obviously, there's going to be some grappling to start with, moving into Muay Thai, and then obviously rounding the night off with obviously some fantastic MMA bouts. The card's looking awesome. The card's looking really, really good. As I say, especially the grappling. I mean, the grappling, we've got some awesome fighters on the grappling, and some really, really top-level guys. Obviously, grappling's my thing, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But as I mentioned, obviously the Muay Thai, you've got some unbelievable Muay Thai fighters on, and then some amazing MMA fights. So it's going to be a good one to watch. It's going to be a good one to see. Tickets for the event are all sold out, guys. So do not turn up on the night expecting to get in, because unfortunately, with it being a council-run building, the council have a very strict track and trace policy. So yeah, definitely do not turn up on the night expecting again, because you will be sent packing. So yeah, keep an eye on the Evolution of Combat page. Obviously, there will be some updates on that. Now, my next guest is going to be on the show that night. So John Malfin. John Malfin comes out of Ashley Williams' Draig team, and the Royal Air Force as well, Royal Air Force Jiu-Jitsu. And John's going to be up against the King of the North, one of Scotland's own, Kevin McAloon of SPG Moray. So, John, anybody that sees John, obviously anybody on social media, John loves to get out there. He's always loving to be out there competing, and getting right in the mix of it. Obviously got his black belt a few years ago as well. So, absolute pleasure, John, to have you on. Thank you very much for obviously taking the time to speak to me today.
No problem. Thank you very much for having me. Looking very excited for Evolution of Combat.
Definitely. Evolution of Combat's an awesome show as well. I mean, obviously, it's a little bit different to the normal jiu-jitsu, where you're actually in the cage, so you're actually grappling inside the cage. Obviously, the door's closed. Nobody gets out until the fight is over. I mean, how's being in a cage for you?
I quite liked it. I mean, my last match only lasted a minute 30, so I didn't really have too much interaction with the cage. But I very much like, being this style of fight, 10 minutes, and basically just being able to fight hard and not have to worry about having to fight maybe 3 or 4 times in the same night.
Yeah, it's good as well. I mean, obviously, there's no points. You're not having to worry about points or advantages, penalty points, and things like that. It's just a case of the winner is the person who submits the other person. So, which is a brilliant style to do as well. Definitely.
I very much enjoy that format, and I do like the points game. It certainly has its place, but yeah, there's something very much to be said about being able to take a certain amount of time out to prepare for one match and really go after it.
Yes, definitely. And then Glasgow, I mean, obviously you're at Royal Air Force, so I think you've been to Glasgow before.
Yeah, I've been to Glasgow, and I actually have a sister who lives in Edinburgh. So my whole plan is to come up and maybe spend about a week up there, and see some family.
Yes, nice. Edinburgh's beautiful, obviously a beautiful place as well. Glasgow's nice. Maybe not as nice as Edinburgh, but it's still a nice place. It's still a nice place. Certainly not where you're going, Maryhill, as I said. It's a little bit different. Okay. So, and then what about Evolution of Combat then? So obviously you were on the last one. We saw you on the last one. So how did you find out then that you were going to be on this card?
So I got a message from, I think it's Daniel, the event organizer, and he messaged me in early January, because at the end of my last match where I beat the chap from Iceland, I decided to call out the 8-kilogram champion Kevin McAloon, and I think he actually had another match that he was trying to get sorted out in the meantime. And I'm not sure if that one fell through, but he basically said to me, not the next card, maybe the one after that. But yeah, when Daniel messaged me, I was like, oh, something must have worked out in my favor, because I'm slated for the very next card to take him on.
Definitely, and I'd say we got a glimpse of you the last time. Yeah, albeit it wasn't long. I'd say you made it go very, very quickly. So, but certainly in the 90 seconds, I think it was, on the last one, we got to see a yeah, you're a dangerous man. You're a dangerous man.
Well, I mean, I certainly went after him, and that was the thing. I was going to test his defense. I was going to see what he did, and he gave up the position to avoid the leg lock, and I ended up on his back very quickly. So, I expect a very different match with Kevin. And I know he's a lot more experienced. He has some wins over some good people. I particularly looked at his Owen Flanagan match. I had a good match with Owen Flanagan, and I saw he had that too, which is one of the reasons I was actually really interested to potentially get to match up with him. So, very much looking forward to it.
Yeah. And that's one thing. I mean, we always talk, any grappler I talk to, they always talk about kind of legacy. They want to look back in 10, 20, 30 years' time and say, well, look, I fought the best people that was out there at the time. When I was competing, it was the best. So, is that something for you, knowing that you've been in there against some of the best people that's out there at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, I love fighting the best people, and I certainly look at it in terms of progression. I spent a very long amount of time fighting, the civilian, like the competition circuit, doing all the points competitions, traveling around the place. And, that was very overwhelming in terms of the schedule and the injuries and just having to fight through everything. What I kind of, the place I'm at now is, very much being able to sort of pick matches. So, yeah, I want interesting matches. And also I want to just progress up the pro jiu-jitsu scene. This is a good start for me. I want to move forward to Grapple Fest, Polaris, and really go after some good matches. That I feel like I'm hitting this stage of my career.
Definitely. It'd be interesting to see. So I know Chris Thompson watches the show. So Chris Thompson, if you're watching, definitely look out for John. As I said, he knows about you anyway. I'm 100% sure of that because of Ash Williams, obviously the team that you guys have at Draig. I mean, you guys are absolutely awesome, an absolutely awesome team to watch.
And Chris he did offer me a match, I think, a while back, and I sadly had to turn him down. And I think it was purely because I was on elite athlete status with the Air Force at the time. So my schedule was just packed full of points competitions, IBGF, Abu Dhabi World Pro. I had stuff booked like almost a year in advance, and it was crazy.
Yes.
But I certainly would be, chomping at the bit to get out on Grapple Fest right now.
Yeah. And we mentioned as well about the Royal Air Force. Obviously, I remember, I think it was a few years ago when you got the elite status, athlete status. And I think at that time when I was reading, it was about you were one of only 18 people that had it. So it was quite a good group of people.
So it was 18 when I started, and by the time I finished, it was down to like 12. A lot of the people on this list are people going to either the Winter or Summer Olympics or Paralympics. They are, some of the best in the world at their chosen sports. And even though I'm now off of it, and that was partially due to COVID at the time, and also because I want to pursue a long career in the military in my actual job. They're still asking me to actually go back on it, which is quite nice. So, maybe in the future, I mean, I am getting a bit older, but never say never.
Yeah, and you also as well, I mean, I was looking at some of the stuff, you get regularly nominated for Sportsman of the Year. I think you won it 1 or 2 times as well. So I mean, how's that?
Well, I got nominated for the first time in 2019 and lost. And I ended up, they basically said to me, if you can win like a world championship, then you'll get it next year. And I won the Naga World Championships. And I was like, okay, so maybe with that, but then COVID happened, so there was no awards due. But I ended up winning it this year, or 2021 in November, and that was amazing because it was the first person to ever win it from martial arts, and let alone the first person to ever win it from jiu-jitsu. So it's great to sort of be able to raise that awareness. And jiu-jitsu in the armed forces has grown massively since I joined back in 2014. It went from not even being a recognized sport to now being one of the biggest growing sports across the armed forces. And I'm going forward to the armed forces, the tri-service awards due in March to try and become Armed Forces Sportsman of the Year, and that would be massive to be able to take that off of the Army Navy as well.
Definitely, and that's one thing. I mean, as I said, when I got into jiu-jitsu about 8 years ago, obviously a lot of this stuff was happening at the time. It was just in the early stages. But obviously, certainly with a lot of people I've trained with, a lot of ex-services people, and it's massive for not just the current serving armed services, but obviously guys that have left the armed services as well.
Oh, definitely. And, I'm affiliated with the charity Reorg, and, they're run by an ex-Royal Marine who's doing amazing things for both serving ex-serving forces, and particularly the work they do with people who have, been affected by either injury or PTSD. It's great for people to be able to have that as a resource. And, jiu-jitsu is definitely amazing for almost being people's therapy. And I get that a lot with people serving at the moment, who a lot of times their distractions or their stresses are just family life, or things that have happened to them in their family, and jiu-jitsu really is, as they say, their therapy, and it's great.
Yeah. And that's one thing they always say, that jiu-jitsu does save lives. And certainly in regards to some of my friends who were in the ex-armed forces and so on, it definitely has. Jiu-jitsu definitely does it. And it's brilliant that there is places now, obviously with the Royal Air Force, the Royal Marines, and Reorg and stuff like that, doing an amazing job. So yeah, listen, hats off to you, buddy. It's an absolute brilliant thing you guys are doing. So, and then what about you? So obviously we mentioned future plans, but I know that you mentioned earlier you're not really going to have much plans this year because you're going to be on the move a bit. So.
Yeah, I can't obviously say too much about my job and what I do just because of security. But yeah, I am, probably going to be deployed sooner than later. So second half of the year will be a little bit quiet for me until November. But as soon as I'm back, again, I want to, get back into it. Probably start of 2023. As I said, my biggest targets are Gravel Fest, Polaris. And then outside of that, it's just my organizational role within the Air Force and the Armed Forces. I run an interstation league for, jiu-jitsu. We've got 14 teams dotted around the country, and also, doing overseas visits. I'm probably going to be going back to do the World Nogi, Abu Dhabi World Pro, whatever I can get funding for and time away from the family, permission from the wife, that sort of thing.
Definitely. And then what about you then? So obviously you've been in the game for a number of years. I'm pretty sure the list's going to be long of the amount of people that you've maybe trained with over the years. But anybody you really want to kind of shout out to, so any kind of friends, family members, teammates, things like that.
The main shout out has probably got to be to, to my team, Draig, led by Ashley Williams, his brother Josh, Chris Rees. They're an amazing team. I spent my entire athlete status down there, and the difference in myself from starting there to where I am now is just, unparalleled. I got my black belt there, got my first degree end of last year. They've been massive. And other than that, all I can really say is that the support that the Air Force has given me to go from hobbyist, I joined as a purple belt, all the way to black belt and competing at the highest level across the world has been amazing. The jiu-jitsu, was a big part in my work ethic to actually help me get into the military, and then the military has really helped me with the jiu-jitsu. So yeah, I can't be grateful enough for what I've been given. Definitely.
And obviously give a shout out to your family as well, John. You mentioned your wife and so on.
So I've got a 30-year-old wife who lives in Swansea, and bless her, she puts up with me, my busy jiu-jitsu schedule and also my work schedule, because I actually live in near Cambridge at work Monday to Friday and commute home at the weekends to be with her. And I also have a 1-year-old son called Kelt. Nice. who's amazing, and he's beautiful and developing, and I can't wait to get into a jiu-jitsu game himself. So
definitely another future world champion.
That's what I'm hoping. But there's no pressure. I'm sure he'll end up doing it all on his own, and he'll end up battering me.
Yes. I always laugh because anybody that I talk to has kids, especially kids maybe 1, 2, 3-year-old, and knowing that, because obviously when me and you were younger, jiu-jitsu wasn't really big. It wasn't really potentially not a thing at all. Whereas obviously now that when our kids get to maybe in their teens and stuff like that, it's going to be even bigger than it is at the moment. So, there's going to be a lot of future world champions come out of the UK, which is going to be awesome to see in 10, 15, 20 years' time. So, but yeah, looking forward to that. I'm definitely looking forward to that. So there we go, guys. There we go. We've got John Malfin. So John Malfin, Draig, and Royal Air Force. You're going to be up against Kevin McAloon, SBG Mori. It's going to be Saturday, 19th of February, Evolution of Combat 11. Make sure you check out Evolution of Combat's Facebook page for obviously any updates. As I mentioned, tickets are sold out, so you will not be able to get any tickets for this event whatsoever. So listen, John, absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for taking the time out to speak to me today.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Definitely. Listen, I'll be there next week, so we'll obviously grab a quick chat. But yeah, definitely stay safe, buddy. Stay away from COVID.
Yeah,
all right. We'll see you next Saturday.
See you in Glasgow. Thank you.
Take it easy, buddy. Bye-bye.
Bye.